All right. Well, GM one and all, may as well get into it. This is our weekly all-team tactical. So we're going to use this time to sync up on work going on around our organization, eliminate blockers, and prioritize work for the next week. And just FYI, this call is going to be recorded and probably shared on social media. So if you don't want that, please let me know. It's funny because that spiel that I say at the beginning, I started holding another tactical for work, and so I'm saying that multiple times a week now. But anyways, the spiel started here. Anyways, in case you don't know what we do, we help purpose-driven communities use Web3 tooling to generate web revenue and engagement. And oh boy, I think we kind of need that in this world right now. On the lag metric side, honestly, this is kind of weird. I don't know if you saw this, Tom. I You'll notice that these two numbers are very different. The amount spent in this one versus the amount spent in this one. So this one, I popped open the raw data, and it's much closer to this, but the data that I use for this, anyways, it's very weird because we got a bunch of double transactions in. That's why this number's higher. But go ahead.
Yeah, so then it was catching the recalls, eh?
I think it was catching the recalls, but then when I ran the same, when I ran the same SQL query that I used to create this number, it did catch the recalls.
It's been adjusted since then, so I'm not actually sure how you were pulling it down, but I could take a peek at how it's getting captured and figure out how to.
I mean, I'm the
block
one
that
who
out.
wrote it, so I should probably take a look. But yeah, I was kind of like, huh. So I mean, it feels like the real number is somewhere. Like I did like a quick calculation. It seems like the real number's around something like 220. So anyways, I used the top number because it was closest. But yeah, something we need to look into with those double transactions at some point. On the lead metric side, this is what we think is going to move the needle. And so 6 weekly transacting users, which is pretty steady. 0 new users, which is unfortunate, but it happens. And 11 communities deployed. On the team-wide announcements, on the taxes side, you may realize that it's tax time right now if you're in North America. So our Delaware state taxes are going to be handled by a registrar. They tack a little extra $100 charge on it, but you know what? It's not a bad thing for us. So ends up being $400 total. I'm gonna mail the U.S. federal taxes today. Arcusty, did you get that last number that needs to be in there?
No, I did not. Did not.
Okay.
You're talking about the gross, the interpretation of the grossed up number.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like there was one number left. Maybe we could talk about it today so that I can just ship it out today.
Okay.
Wednesdays are a great day for me to make it to the post office, and it's sunny, so there you go. If we're able to, then maybe we can. All right, and hopefully I'll send the Panama statements today too. These ones are a little bit less intense. They just require me to do a little bit of calculations on our multi-sig. And so I think I can get a spreadsheet out for that today. And then hopefully by the end of the day, we're kind of like free and clear of taxes, which would be awesome. We shall see. I also posted about our business with NNS on the Nouns forum. Yeah, I posted in our chat that I probably should have checked with this group before I posted it. But you know, it is what it is. And honestly, it felt a bit cathartic for me. Created a lot of discussion. And yeah, I'm not expecting that we will get paid for that work that we did. But at least it's kind of out there. And I think that's important. Going down into our milestone perspective. Sorry, any questions on taxes or the Nouns forum?
Yeah, I read that Nouns forum thing. I'm glad you posted it. I had no idea that was going on. And, this is the kind of thing, it's really frustrating because we tend to see a lot of that in this space. And it makes it, to be honest with you, it makes it difficult to be enthusiastic about, when you are getting involved with an organization or a group that you think is, they sound enthusiastic initially, and then there's no follow through, and we just see this repeatedly, or they abandon a thing that was supposedly the core thing they were working on, whether it's a token or building whatever, and it's just it's getting old, to be honest.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great, right? And I think that it's tough, right? Because also speaking of the reason I had discussed this with the NF Thinker in private in the past when they had gotten their prop out in the first place for something like $750,000, and I was like, should I post this? And we kind of discussed it quite a bit. We privately messaged the person who owed us the money, um and it's really difficult to speak out in the DAO. I mean, you guys know me. I'm always speaking out, right? And so like you catch a lot of hate for that, right? Like, and so like in most of the DAOs that I speak up, I catch a lot of hate, and at the time, especially, I didn't really feel like catching hate, right? And so uh, there's even for someone like me who I think is pretty outspoken, there's definitely like there's a cost to speaking out, and it's unfortunate because we think about blockchain and we think it's like, oh, transparency is one of our values, right? But um, yeah, it's there's a human component of it that I think that we don't think about.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's lip service. We talk about it, and then when the rubber meets the road, it's like, oh yeah, it's just BS. And then you find out who's really about decentralization, who's really about community, and yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
But it takes time. How can we speed run that cycle?
yeah, you can't really, right? Like
No.
it's something else. Anyways, moving on. On a milestone perspective, our aim is to create revenue and engagement. And so under that, we have 10 weekly transacting users, up at 6 right now. On the airdrop reward side, Tom has done some great work on this. Actually, Tom, did you want to give an update on this?
Well, the biggest thing was the back end work that I was working at last week. I got the majority of it in place so that we've got a rewards deployer function available to us in the back end so that we can index against our current rewards database and send out rewards to each of our BCard users so that the rewards are automatically airdropped into their wallets with no interaction required on their part or our part, which is quite nice. So we've got a little bit of testing to go across all of our tokens and deployments and chains and everything, but I think that it's looking pretty good. That when we're able to test and validate a lot of those pathways, that we can automate a lot of the functionality so that a lot of that rewards flow and claim flow process becomes automated and in the background so that things happen for the user without without them needing to do anything, which is great.
Yeah, that is really great. And it feeds into our in-app voting because all of a sudden they'll have these tokens which they can then use for voting. And speaking of which, I did share this with OMF. And so they're very interested. Like there's a couple of things that they have which might work. I think that for OMF they're thinking like, oh, we need to raise some money through BCard to make this work. I'm gonna try to convince them to just like allocate like a monthly, like a small amount. Like let's say if they did like $250 a month to like they were saying like there are some clinical trials that have different samples that they can use, and the samples cost like between $250 and $1,000 a month. So if we had like a monthly vote for like, hey, which sample should we do out of these ones? And they were already going to spend that money, just giving like a little bit of, let's say, like autonomy to people, that could really encourage people. First of all, it could create engagement. And second of all, it could encourage people to get on the card too. So we'll see. I don't know which way this is going to go, but it's something that they at least see some value in, which I think is great. For us, we're not going to be waiting on OMF. We're also going to be pushing it with our Black Flag Collective for in real life events. So we'll be dropping tokens to all of our active users, either bank, which we have a ton of, which is also being used in that vote, or potentially like a Black Flag token, which I think would be even better because that's kind of cementing a meme that maybe other people will also be working on, right? So there's kind of like a collective work going on that Black Flag meme, and so that might even be more useful to us. We'll see. And also, well, we had a new fee schedule from the bank. Apparently, it's very normal for a bank to come in, just like kind of demand compliance changes, and then you just jump. So we did jump. We already have that up on our staging site and on our and on our support site. And so they submitted it. They submitted what we did to compliance, and hopefully we will be passed and continue to move forward. On the 10 new users a week side, Taxman, I just had one thing left to do, which is to send out an email. I wanted to do it before April because that's when a lot of people's taxes are due. And so that was nice. We sent it out to, I think, like 1,100 users and had 23 new users come in. So, not amazing, but not terrible either. And on the messaging and segment research, I went through with Shelby on how to create landing pages. I also created an account for Shelby in Mailjet and went through some discussions with Crypto and Arcusti on community leader messaging around engagement and this kind of thing. The next steps is really to brainstorm engagement messaging, especially research of how voting increases engagement. Make a list of people to cold outreach, and I'll add to this as well, Shelby, because I promised us to make a list of segments to create landing pages for. And so that's also something that we're going to be doing, which relies on this messaging that we're looking. And then finally, it's going to be reach out, whether it is like a cold email, whether it is like a Google ad, whether it is like a one-on-one. The goal is just to reach out. On the endowment fund side, our current vote is up. 2 days left on the current vote. I need to spread a little bit more on socials. I was kind of waiting until it was like only a couple days left. And so I'll put that out today. And the next step is for me to write a proposal for purple funding for in real life events. We shall see if I get that done this week. And then cold outreach for the 10 high quality communities. And we can put into our task board here. All right. So in-app voting is still going. Taxman updates for 2025 are complete as far as I can see. I'm going, and I did this. That is done. Yeah, and so for now, we can mark this as complete, and we'll revisit it the next time there's a tax deadline coming up. Going down, year-end taxes and more. Speaking of taxes, well, we did already speak to this, but yeah, is this? Oh, I did this part. Get all the invoices from email to Google Drive. Anything else you want to share on this, Arcusti?
No. I was trying to find my mic there. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Sweet. All right, so I'll try to connect with you to get this done today. Automatically
thanks for doing all the paperwork, guys. I just wanted to say thanks for keeping it up, eye on all those numbers for us.
Yeah, Arcusti's a real MVP here. He's the one who's going through everything, and I'm just kind of like rubber stamping it at the end. So yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right, and so we talked a little bit about the automatically dropping of rewards. Anything else you want to say to this, Tom?
No, I guess what we're looking at is the app client UI that I kind of roughed in. I know you and I have been sort of batting it back and forth for a week or so about sort of like what we wanted to have on there in terms of like verbiage and information. So I just mocked up something to keep it pretty simple, but I figured you and I could iterate on it to get it shippable.
Yeah, so it's you gave me a lot to think about actually, because there's a couple of different numbers here which are interesting. There's like the total lifetime that you've ever earned. There is what exists in that wallet right now, and there's like the amount that you have earned this month, or like the expected amount that you've earned this month. So yeah, that's right. Exactly, yeah. So those three numbers is just like, okay, yeah, like that's actually having all those three numbers on there for every single token that you might have in there. For one token, it's not so bad. If you have two, it's already like kind of like, well, now it's 6 numbers instead of 3. For 4 of them, it's just like, I actually test out every single thing, so I have like 10. Anyways, all this to say, I definitely think we need to simplify it, but I'm not sure how yet. And so it's something, yeah, we can discuss, and of course we can release a roughed-in version first. It's not a big deal, but
for sure, I did have some thoughts as well about hiding sort of the the earned and pending behind the total, so it could sort of like fly out to be like revealable. So it's kind of like a little bit cleaner, but to be discussed for sure.
Yeah. Anyways, just lots of things to think about, but in general, yeah, looking good. Community leader research. I guess, like, honestly, I haven't been doing this as much because I've been working on taxes and that compliance stuff. It is pretty important for us to do this, especially now, as like I think, like, okay, right now, the crypto market seems to be in like complete bear mode. I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but it's really felt that way for me. And so it's more important now than ever for us to kind of like understand what our value is beyond crypto, right? Like what is it that could be useful to people, just in general, and not just in the context of the crypto industry. And so I think this community leader research, that's why it's up here. That's why it's pretty big. Hopefully, starting by the end of this week, I'll be able to like really put my my hat on it. March monthly chores, I have not posted on social. I'll leave that up there for now. Identity messaging and growth dashboard. Well, the last thing that we took on this was, I really think that this is kind of like intimately combined with this community leader research. And so, Shelby now knows how to create landing pages, and we need to create a lot more of those as we start to test our messaging. So yeah, that's kind of the next step is very similar to the next step in the community leader research. All right, ensure everyone with a B card at the event gets an NFT. Drost sent me the list of people who had a B card at the event. I have not yet cross-referenced it with our user database. And then we can send out the NFTs. So Tom, is that like a relatively easy process if I give you a list of what, like emails, or if I give you a list of like what am I gonna, like, their B card IDs?
Yeah, wallet addresses would be the easiest, but from email or BCard ID, I should be able to get that. No problem.
But we want to send it to their BCard ID, right? We want to send it to their embedded wallet.
Yep.
Okay, is that what we had done for the previous ones? Like we had set them all to the embedded wallet?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, cool.
I mean,
All right.
aside from the test ones that we manually sent, we kind of fired them to some other addresses, but by default, it's set to embedded wallet for users for sure.
Okay, so I'll try to, I should write that down on my list. I know I have to do it, and I just haven't written it down yet, so I should probably just do that right now. BCard list. Oh. Should be. Okay, great. And so I'll try to do that when I can. Glow Dollar. Did you get a chance, NF Thinker, to reach out to anyone from Glow Dollar?
Yeah, I spoke to Bram, and
Oh, you did speak to Bram. Okay.
yeah, he messaged me back and said he's been dealing with some health issues recently, and he asked me to get in touch with his colleague Lana, and gave me her handle on Telegram. I messaged her, and she did not even look at the message. So maybe I'll ping her again now. And if I don't hear from her again, then I'll ping Bram again and ask if he can ask her to check the message.
Cool. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. And I should write that in here. NF Thinker reached out to Bram and to talk to Lana. And then, sorry, Lana told you to talk. Sorry, Lana. What? Sorry, what was the next step?
Lana didn't answer, so I'll try to get in touch with her again.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. And then the Black Flag Endowment Fund. As I said, we need to get some. What am I thinking? Some socials out for our vote that's ending in 2 days. In general, I haven't really had much time to promote this as much as I've wanted, but hopefully we can get it moving a little bit forward. Next, we do have a couple of events for the next month, which is good. But yeah, in general, I would like to get more events, but it's also difficult because our yield is going down right now, and so it's like hard to get more people excited. So if I can get up to like 5 events a month, that's kind of my goal with this. Anyways, we'll see. But I think that like the website itself, there's a lot of potential things we can do to bridge the UX gap between Web3 and the real world, even on here. For instance, if we can get something like our snapshot voting to show here using the same kind of technology that Tom built. I'm not quite sure because our technology on the app is slightly different than this technology here. But I know for sure it's technically possible to set up a way to deposit right here on the app itself. And then if we do that, we can make some Farcaster frames and all this kind of good stuff as well. All this to say, there's lots of work we could be doing on this. Haven't had time to do it. And honestly, it's not the most important thing right now, but it's still super fun for me. So I enjoy doing it. All right. Anything else that we're working on that's not on this list? Okay, let's go back into what did we ship last week? So I shipped a new fee schedule for compliance. I taught Shelby how to make landing pages and gave her access to the landing page tool. Arcusy has most of the U.S. federal tax docs ready. I put the receipts from 2024 into the Google Drive. I reached out to OMF about in-app voting. I started the Panama filing. Tom released the first cut of airdrop rewards. I think Tom, you also removed user info from the database. Is that right? Or reconcile? Yeah, I'll say. Was that this week or was that last week?
I think it was a little bit of a crossover this weekend last, and then the other thing would be mitigating duplicate transaction issue.
Right, and mitigated the double transaction issue. Yeah, so actually,
I think at this point it's probably been double mitigated, ironically.
Well, if double mitigations lead, it's an idempotent operation, so it will just a double mitigation is still a mitigation. One hopes.
I hope so.
All right. Yeah, for the double transaction issue, I still saw this on my PWA, and I was just like, oh, is it because the PWA is not updated to the latest? It makes me wonder.
Likely what it was is that you had a cache of your local of your transactions stored locally, and because there was reflected as no update from the server, it just it had the same ones on there and didn't update it. So with a manual refresh, log in, log out, it probably would have adjusted, I suspect. And now at this point, because they've been adjusted in the database, they should be gone for good as soon as you do a refresh on your transactions.
Okay. I think I still have a couple of. Yeah, I think it feels like I still have a couple of I'll do a log out and log in, but it looks like I still have a couple of transactions that have been duplicated.
Okay, yeah. Well, let me know if it does persist. I'd be interested to hear.
Sounds good. All right. Anything else we shipped this week? Okay. All right. So on the discussion item side, I guess I've noticed. Sorry, I'm standing up even though I know that I don't have my headphones attached properly, so I need to sit down. And normally at this point of the meeting, I stand up and start pacing. Anyways, I'll sit back down. So some of the things that we kind of touched on earlier was this idea that it's difficult to speak up or feel included in a community in this space, and also that just the space in general, it seems to be a lot quieter right now than it has been in a really long time. I was just wondering, have other people felt this way?
Yeah, but I thought it was just me. Not
You
just
thought it was
this.
just
I've had other things going on, and I kind of don't want to sit in front of the computer, and I'm tired of being, I'm just tired of doing some of the routine stuff I've been doing. Plus, the market sucks right now. Well, depending on what you're doing. If you're playing volatility, you're probably doing all right. But no, just a lot of shit going on, and that are different priorities than this. And then also just me recovering from travel. It takes me a while. It takes me a couple of weeks to just get back into the mode of wanting to do anything that's Anyway, but that's just me. But no, when I pop into like different Discord servers and stuff, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of activity there. I don't know, maybe because it's heading into springtime. I don't know.
Yeah, could be. I mean, I feel the same way as you then that like, in some of the times when I would be maybe encouraged to go to some of these Discord events. I mean, also it's partly like, I got a new job, and so I'm like kind of I have less time for some of that stuff. But even when I do have time, I'm not necessarily choosing to go into those community discords and stuff as much anymore. I'm not choosing to like post on Farcaster or crypto Twitter anymore. And yeah, I guess like some of it is the market, but I also feel like some of it is the it feels like the ethos of the space. I don't know, maybe it was always there, but it feels like it's being revealed to me more lately, where it's just like, I'm really like an idealistic person. And so I felt like there were lots of people around who shared the same ideals as me. And when I realized, I guess maybe somewhat recently, I realized that maybe that's not the case as much. It made me want to engage less.
I get that. I feel some of that off and on from time to time, sometimes more than others, and I know that's very vague, but like I said, it just gets back to it being challenging to stay consistent. And I was just listening. I don't know if any of you listen to Scott Galloway, but Prof G Markets and stuff like that, Prof G Pod, and he's done TED Talks and stuff. Anyway, I was just listening recently. He's like, he says he's fundamentally lazy, and it's like, it sounds like he works all the time, but the only way he gets things done is by forcing deadlines and having commitments to other people. And man, I resonated with that.
Yeah, it's why I like building BCard with you guys, because it creates this like imperative for me to actually do something rather than just say something. Yeah. Anyways, sorry.
Right. And then the challenge between, there was a meme I was just seeing the other day that it was, if I find the graphic, I'll share it, but it was between creating and doing the thing you're trying to make versus talking about and promoting the thing you're trying to make. But if you're spending all your time promoting and talking about it, you can't actually make the thing you're trying to make that you're talking about. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Winverse, I think you had something to say too.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in as well. When I saw like the question, I was like, oh, okay. I guess I'm not the only one losing my mind because like things have been oddly quiet, not only like here. And when I say here, I mean like Black Flag down, but like across all other like other places, like Arbitrum, for instance, for the past couple weeks, 2, 3 weeks even, literally the only proposals on forum have been like Security Council elections, like a lot, a lot has been like on the back end, like nothing is happening basically, like only like 3 proposals in the past 3 weeks, and they're all like constitutional proposals basically. Like things have just been so like the vibe has been so low, participation has reduced. There some other like communities I mean as well, and like things are oddly quiet honestly. And just to go back to what Joe said, like that the whole like routine thing happening is honestly like just like I don't know how to put it, but like I've been feeling weird over the past couple weeks. um, I think, like you said, the market is playing a part as well. Because, like, I think most folks got into like the year with the expectations that the market would be upward, going up at least for a while. I think so. Like the whole thing going down, but I think that affected individuals as well. But yeah, generally just feeling good lately over the past couple of weeks, and yeah.
Yeah, and the reason I'm bringing it up is not because I think it's like a terrible thing or anything like that. Actually, if we're spending like if I'm spending more time outside, actually, it's probably not a bad thing for me. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because it's not just um, it's not just hey, I'm doing other things. I'm like in a better place for it. It's also that like while there were some hopes that this industry would change the world for the better, and I had wondered as well if there are things about this quiet time, like, is there an opportunity in this quiet time for us to learn, or for us to potentially build something, or for us to I don't know. It feels like the reason why I think it might be quiet as well is because I mean the people who I know are just building things, right? And maybe they're promoting things less. I mean, maybe there are less people around to do those things. Like maybe like a lot of the people who came to the space for the money only, maybe the money is not as abundant, and so they've moved on to different industries where the money is more abundant. Um, but I wonder if like the people who are still around, who may not be as kind of out there, um, if they're the ones who I actually want to connect with, right? Does that make sense? I don't know. Like, is there some way that this quiet can be like a positive, like a I don't know. I'm not articulating this well, but does that resonate with anyone?
Like it's a reduction in noise, so you might find your
Exactly.
signal.
Yeah, like every strength is a weakness, every weakness is a strength, right? Um,
Yeah, potentially. Just to add my 2 cents to the overall feel of things, I kind of get the feeling that when you when you offer incentives for people to come into a system, it makes it easier for people to get involved, but it also makes it easier for scammers to get involved. And we saw a lot of this in the early days of Bankless DAO. A lot of people were coming in and, doing like claiming they were doing tasks to claim their bank tokens, immediately selling those bank tokens, adding nothing to the ecosystem, and not being constructive community members. So the scammers win, and also the whales win in many instances because they can come in, um, earn higher percentages of yield on investments, and then they extract their yield and everyone else is kind of left holding the bag, or they extract their principal, they extract their liquidity, and everyone else is kind of left holding the bag. And it feels like the incentive to be involved in a crypto project is, if it's monetary, it quickly gets gamed, and it's gamed by the 1%, right? We could call them the 1%ers, whether those are the whales or the people who dedicate a lot of time and energy to actually gaming that system. And you might want to call them the scammers. And then the 99% of the people are kind of left going, okay, well, that didn't work out quite as we expected it to. And of those 99%, you might have 5%, that might be the us of the world, who are left behind going, yes, but we're doing it for this reason, and we're going to keep doing it for this reason. And we keep bumping our heads against the wall until the wall finally gives a little bit. How do we find new incentives? And I feel like that's something that we continue to work on, we continue to discuss, and we're making some progress in that field. Allowing people to vote on initiatives is a really important feature of an on-chain community. It does have limited incentive though, right? You might not be interested in what the people are voting on. You might not be specifically aligned with that mission or objective. And even when things come up that you are aligned with, things might go the wrong way. And if you want to look at like I kind of feel like the most recent Black Flag DAO vote to vote in new members seemed a little bit jaded because there were a lot of people. I voted for every single person to be included in that vote, and only 4, maybe 5 people were accepted. And you just think, why didn't people vote for these other members to join? Do they have something against them? And so it really comes down to people's personal preference. And when your preferences aren't validated, or your preferences aren't shown in the votes, then you feel a little bit left out, and you wonder, how come, does my voice not matter? Do these people's voices not matter? So you start to question the whole system. Overall, transparency is extremely helpful, and participation, the ability to participate, is fantastic. It does give people that incentive. But when you don't feel represented, then you start to feel a little bit pushed out or ostracized from that very same community that you thought you were a part of. So it could be for many reasons why this entire industry is down, but I feel like DAOs in general have far less participation. DAOs are still potentially, in my mind, the future of brands. People want to be involved with their brand, and they feel that mimetic draw towards a brand or a mission statement or whatever that DAO or brand embodies. But you have to continue to offer them the carrot, to continue to keep them involved. And when the carrot turns into a stick, then people tend to turn away. So that could be some reason why we're having less engagement overall across the board. But it's not necessarily a nail in the coffin. I think it's probably just another speed bump in the road.
Yeah, I think like the branding aspect is an important part of that one, right? Like when it was Bankless DAO and when there was like some success associated with that brand, people wanted to be part of it, right? Because they're like, oh, that brand became its own incentive. You mean I can join this group and I can call my thing Bankless? Like that's cool, right? I feel like that's half the reason, or maybe even more, that a lot of people joined up, right? And so I think that idea of a brand is really important. It's why I think it's really important that we rally around that Black Flag brand, because I think that is actually something that you can it is something that you can rally around, right? Like it's yeah, like having that shared symbol is something that can be an incentive. Hey, like CryptoDad likes to say, like, identity is the thing that we should be looking at, right? Like that's what he really believes. Like, and I think, and I often talk about brand. Brand in a lot of ways is an identity. It's like an identity that you can adopt. That's like a part of you. That's like a part of your whole, right? It could be that like you add up like all of the brands that you're a part of, and I don't really like this concept because I think it's a little too consumerist. But like the idea that you add up all the sum of all the brands you're about, and people can know a lot about you. Like, oh, I wear Patagonia clothes, and I buy Apple products, and I drive a Tesla or whatever. Like that says something about you, right? And I think that incentive, incentive of identity, that incentive of like of vibing with people who feel the same way as you, is an incentive that we could explore a bit more.
Good vibes only.
Yeah, good vibes only.
Vibes affect a brand. Just ask Tesla.
Yeah. Yeah. They were
I mean,
their
people don't
stock
want to be
price was
seen in this
based on
damn thing
vibes.
now.
Yeah. It's true.
It's like, good job, dipshit. Anyway, sorry, I'm injecting my own opinion in there. The guy that wants to cut government is the guy that has taken the most in government subsidies, like $15 billion in government subsidies. And now he's trying to find waste. All right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's basically like if you buy a Tesla now, you're basically saying that you support what's happening in the U.S. government, right? And even people who bought a Tesla because for environmental reasons or for like cachet reasons, like, oh, this is cool, right? Now they are now associated with this other thing, which has kind of like taken over all of the other narratives.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How quickly that happens. Anyway, it's just I'm not specifically ranting, but I am, but it speaks to a broader thing, right? About how quickly things can change, and cynicism, and hypocrisy. I mean, it just seems like we use the term "rugged" here a lot, and in the real world and the broad, this whole like the whole Tesla thing and Elon and stuff. It's like talk about being rugged. How many it rugged in so many different ways between people that bought into the brand, his brand, maybe even people that voted for Donald Trump that didn't realize Elon came with the package. And so I find that pretty interesting. I never supported the guy, so I find it fascinating now what's going on. But
I think like the interesting thing as well, I mean, for me, is that regardless of what you think about Trump or Elon's politics,
right,
like they've created a very strong brand,
they
right?
sure have.
Like there is like there's something that they're doing, even though they have a message that like half of people find really disgusting, the other half of people find it exactly what they're looking for, right?
Yeah,
And I think like that's really important to look at from like a let's say like an academic viewpoint, right? If you're looking to create a movement, you can't necessarily like you can't be opinionless. In fact, the opinions that you have that are controversial are actually the opinions that the successful people are potentially the most the most vocal about, because those are the ones that more people hear about. Those are the ones that more people share. Those are the ones where you get more engagement in this current world, right? And I know we started this discussion off on like, okay, it's a period of low engagement. How do we kind of like deal with that, or how do we utilize that if we want to? But yeah, it's important to note what they're doing. And I was asking myself yesterday, like, oh, the environment that I'm working in right now is pretty political, right? So I was thinking to myself, like, oh, do I have to be political to succeed? And probably the answer is yes. And then the next question is like, well, do I want to be like that? Like, is that how I want to succeed? And so that's a question I think we all have to ask ourselves. We've consciously tried not to do that at BCard,
right.
and potentially to our detriment, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be political, but everything gets politicized. I mean, it's I've got a lot of adjectives to throw out there, but it's between disappointing, frustrating, all of that. But how do we rise above it? Or because there's a whole segment of the population that just sick and tired of that, and I'm part of it. But anyhow, how do you get above the noise? I don't know.
Yeah. So that's interesting to me, right? Because we talked about how so I kind of alluded to the fact that like when I hopped on social, I just didn't like what I saw, and that's why I put down my phone and went outside, right? And so like that's probably a good thing for me. But for people like that, for people like me, for people like others who are kind of feeling that way right now, is there a way that we can provide something to them that helps them kind of like achieve those goals? Like, I personally think social media has kind of screwed up our world currently. What does the next stage look like? Previously we had radio, and then we had newspapers, and then we had television, and then we had like internet, email, and then we had social media. So like, what does that next kind of phase look like?
Wouldn't
That's
we
the
all
Holy
want to
Grail,
know?
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, maybe something to think about. I think like we have the luxury here at BCard of being able to experiment. We don't do it quickly, but we're able to do it. And so I think we also have the kind of directive to use some of these tech tools and make them easy to use, right? And so that means that we have the ability to potentially attract people who are disgusted by tech, who aren't interested in social media and that kind of thing. What tool would you build for those kinds of people? What tool would you build to help yourself stay connected locally as well as globally?
That seems like a real oxymoron if they're disgusted with tech and then building something new, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It doesn't have to be tech though, necessarily, right? I mean, it depends on your definition of technology, but yeah, it could be like a newsletter that we mail to people, right? Like in their actual physical mailbox. It could be local in real life meetups. Sorry, Shelby, I just cut you off.
No, you didn't. I was just thinking that through, maybe. But probably not, right?
Yeah. I mean, the local meetups to me are the thing, right? Like that's what I kind of think is like one way. I don't think it's like a completely transformative thing, but I think it's possible that it could be. I think getting people to show up to an in real life meetup is like, first of all, everyone who comes, usually they come back, right? Like that's what I've noticed at the meetups that I've gone to, right? When you go to ETH Denver, you want to go again. When you go to FarCon, you want to go again. When you go to one of my local Toronto meetups, usually you come back again, right? So that's one thing that I've noticed. Like it's definitely something. And then the next thing is like, when you have that, like, how do we help other people have that too? How do we facilitate it in a small way? Anyways, potentially a good time to call it quits for this week. Unfortunately, in the last couple of weeks, I've had a meeting right at 10 a.m. right after this. That should stop at the end of March. So hopefully I won't be in such a rush to leave at the end of this meeting. But I do appreciate you guys just kind of like, I don't know, not commiserating, but like discussing this with me. I think it's nice to have that open space to just chat about some of this kind of stuff. Again, like our goal is really to make something good, right? To make something that is a force of good. We're aiming to be positive change makers. We're aiming to be the change that we want to see in the world. And so ultimately, the sky's the limit. We may not be able to do those things immediately, but whatever you imagine, it is something that we can pursue. So just remember that as you're, thinking about stuff, as you're going for a walk. This is a place for you to be able to pursue those kinds of things. Even if you don't necessarily want to contribute to BCard, you can feel free to come here and work with us and do something else here on this Discord too. Show up at this community call and tell us what you're doing. Right? Like it's not it's meant to be a space for people who want to make a change. So, anyways, thanks for all of you who are around. Thank you for helping me make change in some small way, and I appreciate you all.
Thank you, Lynx. And I appreciate that because like I said at the beginning of the meeting, I had felt a little off, and today has actually helped me a lot. And I have been working on things kind of quietly behind the scenes, but I didn't want to commit to a date on anything. So if you look back through the meeting notes and stuff, I have got summaries and transcripts in there from the past 3 or 4 weeks, just not a lot of detail. So if you find something in there that's meaningful to you, or if anybody wants to help create media, let me know. Because it's hard to do it all by myself. But yeah, look in there if you want to look at old stuff. And then if there's anything you'd like to see created, or if you feel like you can help on something, I would be happy to talk about that because I can't do it all myself.
Yeah, so I looked at some of the old transcripts and I didn't know how to like highlight things in the UI, like of what like it used to show on Descript. Anyways, maybe I'll ask you publicly in the user chat. But yeah.
Yeah, cool. And then if
All
you want
right.
to chat sometime, I know you're a busy guy, but we're kind of due for a one-on-one. So
Yeah, absolutely. Probably not this week, but I think next week I should be opening up a little bit.
Okay, cool.
All right, cool. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Cheers, all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Keep
See ya.
making it better every day.